Hi, welcome to the Mohua Show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur, and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us a very special guest. Her name is Gauri Budh, the author of the thought-provoking book, When You Know, You Know. The book delves deep into the realities of our modern world, offering insights, inspiration, and guidance for self-discovery and personal growth. So, Gauri, thank you so much for being on the Mohua show today. So, let's just start by the first question that came to my mind, after I went through your book. Can you tell also our listeners what inspired you to write When You Know, You Know?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and it's a delight to be here, first of all. And yes, so when I sat to write this, I remembered that I was amazed at how clear, the picture was for me, and I wanted my readers to have that exact image in their minds as well when they read this. And I believe, we are in a world where all of us, somewhere or the other, are too stuck in the practical and chaotic lives, which leaves us with not much time or drive or even will, for that matter, to focus on all that flows like an undercurrent in our lives. So, yeah, basically, savoring the present and understanding the importance of now was what drove me to write this book. And yeah.
So, Gauri, your book also explores the themes of figuring out people. I think that's the greatest challenge that each of us are facing today. There's this
Yeah.
rise in individualism, and people don't know how to deal with one another. They get very easily offended. And so, figuring out people, figuring out life, and figuring out the self are it's the crux actually for any human
Yeah.
being. So, can you just share some key takeaways or moments from your own life that led you to write this book and put this whole thing together? Because hum jab bhi likhte hain, there's always a past of our own experiences that we bring forth to our readers. We become vulnerable with our own experiences. So I'd love to hear it from you, Gauri.
Yeah. So, yes, figuring out self, of course, remains the ultimate goal of our existence. And for that, it's very important to figure out life that we intend to lead and the people that we surround ourselves with. And for me personally, my closest people actually taught me the hardest lessons. And I am pretty grateful for that. And that's when I realized how important it is to figure out people in order to actually understand, yourself much better. And same goes, I believe, for life also, because in today's world, I don't see many people who intentionally, sit and take any steps to know why they are often put in certain predicaments in life. And honestly, once I began to ask questions, answers started falling in my lap. And I believe pretty strongly and quite powerfully, that showed me the importance of knowing myself much better. So, yeah.
You've spoken to my heart, actually, Gauri, because I think, the closest people, they teach us the hardest lessons. And that stands true for me also. And these
Yeah.
lessons that I actually hold as the new path for me in life. You've also
Mm-hmm.
spoken about the importance of being awakened to reality. So, can you elaborate on what you mean by this and how it relates to finding one's purpose? Because purpose is something that all of us are struggling to find. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how did you go about this whole thing? And considering how young you are, Gauri, I'm very intrigued to know. How is it that you went about this whole thing?
Yeah. So, being awakened to reality, I think in this context, I believe it's just something, that today's world has simply gotten strayed from. And it's nothing new. Like, we all know how reality works. And when I talk about reality here, it is the reality of life and basically how you perceive it, what ways you choose to understand. And it's different for everyone. And regarding purpose, I think two terms that flash in my head right now are like truth and focus. And so I think having conviction about the reality that makes sense to you, would effortlessly just direct you with focus to find your purpose. And your purpose is not supposed to be something, just one thing or a specific thing that you would do for the rest of your life. It is just a combination of all that's making sense to you, and you are finding meaning out of that. So, yeah.
So we know that many people struggle with the idea of detaching from the world, in pursuit of self awareness, and
Yeah.
which is self awareness लोगों की पूरी जिंदगी निकल जाती है, but वो awareness levels आते नहीं हैं, and they struggle a lot. So how do you
Hmm.
suggest striking a balance, between self discovery and staying engaged with the world around us, because we are constantly bombarded with material things, with messages, with there's always somebody sharing some sort of content. Right now you and me are also creating content. So how do you get into this pursuit of self awareness in all of this?
So I think change is something that you need to be okay with in while working with life and dealing with life. In fact, and but again, when I talk about change, many people just like feel that, oh, how can you just let go of all that you have ever known and just move to something new. So that is not exactly what I'm implying here. It is more so to like those people who hesitate in uh, accepting and adopting change. They often feel that you have to let go of all that you have ever known, or you have to unlearn everything to like just adapt to this new form of life. That's not really true. Actually, it's a combination of both, and in my opinion, I think adapting and adopting to gradual change, along with staying close to your roots, who you are, where you're coming from, what makes sense to you, how you think you can deal with life the best way is, I believe, the best way forward. And when it comes to striking a balance between your life and work, I think if you start like not treating work as a task, instead of it is more than just a task for you, I think you'll just like not only improve at work whatever you are doing, but you'll also like improve the quality of your life when you're spending it either with yourself or like people around you. So precisely that's what I think.
So, Gauri, can you also share a personal anecdote or story, from your journey of awakening that has had a very profound impact, and it led to the creation of this book? It'll, I think, really help a lot of our listeners who may be going through a phase and they need to probably journal their learnings and get into a space where it helps them to deal, with any sort of disappointment from life or a challenge that they are facing.
Okay. So I don't think I have one specific incident, but yes, one thing which I started realizing, and I started making myself very aware of, was that I am not the person to be confined to a space, and a 9 to 5 culture is not something that I will be very good at per se. And that is something that allowed me to like think out of the box. And it also like gave me enough courage, for that matter, to believe that I don't have to like go through a template form of life. I don't have to be someone by the age of 25, and I don't have to achieve a certain societal goal, or like reach the top of a societal ladder which may or may not exist by a certain age. So I think that understanding of life helped me write this basically. So yeah.
सो गौरी वी नो दैट बहुत सारे इंडिविजुअल्स हैं जो अपने पाथ ऑफ सेल्फ डिस्कवरी में निकलते हैं और लगता है दैट दिस
Mm-hmm.
इज द टाइम फॉर मी टू रियली सेल्फ एनालाइज delve deep down into what I have done with myself. And one does get lost, you have to
Yeah.
agree. And I mean, I often get lost whenever I keep looking back at my own journey and how I changed my entire life, like a 360-degree change from being a homemaker to now really running an enterprise and doing a business in content and being an author. और वो जो confusion जब होता है, it just is overwhelming. So how does one deal with that? How have you dealt with it?
I think I I was very sure of what I wanted, and I think because of that, it was very easy, and and everyone's got their own style and way of dealing with challenges. And one thing that I must share is that, uh, I was very sure of not letting, noises around affect me. And it did not happen overnight. Of course, there were moments where I was also in doubt, and I was also, in a mode of reconsidering things. But I feel, once I started understanding the importance of uh, how this non-template form of life was, fulfilling and definitely satisfying me from within, I just could not, look it any other way. And I knew that, I had to, cut off those noises, because people are going to talk and opinions are going to be shared. But yes, they, as long as their words are not affecting my direction of life, I think I was good to go.
How fantastic. I mean, I need to repeat this that we need to drown out the noises. Gauri, I mean, you've spoken my heart and also learn to really focus. And what I think are your golden words is this that each of us have our own way of dealing, with
Yeah.
situations. And, each of us are unique in our own way. So, in a world that's filled with distractions and constant change, what practices or habits do you recommend for staying grounded and connected, to our inner selves? Because it's really, really difficult, So, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think being grounded and committed to what you are doing really comes from within, and it just shows your loyalty towards what you really mean to do. And it may take a few years, it may take many, many years actually, but whenever you begin to find interest and happiness in a certain way of living, I believe, you should try to make it possible with all the means that you can. But yes, before that, it's very mindful for everyone to be aware of their circumstances, as no two timelines are the same, no two people have the same timelines. For some people things will grow at a different pace than others. So it's just that, yeah, you have to be constantly reminding yourself of what all you can do and how capable you are, and just you know focus on your work rather than getting influenced by what everyone else is doing around you.
So, what message or insight, from your book do you believe is most relevant and important, for our listeners in today's really, really fast paced and ever changing world? Every day we are bombarded, like we were talking right in the beginning, with content. So, tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
what would be so special about your book.
Well, it's hard to pick just one, but I think an overall idea of not making money the center of your entire existence is very important, unless and until that is the absolute need. Then of course, yes, go for it. There's a lot of respect for you then. But I feel it money is absolutely an integral part of our lives, and we all know it. But revolving around it, will only take us further away from the beautiful and holistic journey that we are supposed to be on, I believe. So it's important to make it an important part of your life, but like making it the only priority and centering it and and making your life revolve around it, I think that's where most of us are, facing the actual troubles without even realizing it.
And finally, can you share any future projects or endeavors that you have in mind, whether they're related to writing or your own personal growth? I think the listeners are really, really going to benefit from hearing from you.
Yeah, so yes, of course, I'm working on a couple of projects, and my next book perhaps is going to be pretty different from this one, and I would like my readers to wait for it. And yeah, and about my personal growth, I feel I am pretty content and satisfied with all that is happening for me right now, with work and with personal life, and I believe to be in this zone for as long as possible.
Wishing you luck, Gauri. And I'm so impressed. I'm so amazed. At 27, I don't think I really knew my head from my tail. And it is amazing to meet, the generation of youngsters like you who are so self aware, who are so,
Yeah.
confident about the path that they choose to walk, which is obviously not the beaten track. And this was Gauri
Yeah.
Budh for us, the author of the thought-provoking book, When You Know, You Know. So for all our listeners, please buy the book. And I promise you it's going to be a riveting read and a fantastic book for you to get a lot of your questions answered that we all struggle with. Thank you, Gauri, for being on today's episode. To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk ईमानदारी से.